Today we'll be discussing the dupe syscall. In order to use dupe, you need to include the uni.std.h library. There are two ways a process interacts with the user: through the input the user puts through the keyboard, stdin, and the output that the process prints to the screen, stdout. However, sometimes you'll want a process to take input from a file, print output into a file, or a combination of both. This is where dupe comes in. Before we talk about dupe, we need to understand file descriptors. File descriptors are integers that represent a file that the process is reading from or writing to. There are three default file descriptors: standard in, which is represented by the number 0, standard out, which is represented by 1, and standard error, which is represented by 2. What dupe does is assign the file descriptor entered into its argument to the lowest number available. So if we were to dupe on a new file, that new file would be given a file descriptor value of 3, since 3 is the lowest open value. If we want to read input from files or write output to a file, we need to use both the open and close functions. However, before we go into that, we should note that if the file descriptor is less than 0, you have a problem, and you should error check that right now, all the time. First, you would want to get the file descriptor, which is what open returns when you enter the file's name into its argument. Next, to be safe, you want to dupe the file you're replacing, putting it into a new integer value, just in case you don't want to keep reading from the new file. I wish it was that easy to get another monitor. Next, you use close on the file descriptor you want to replace. Lastly, you dupe the new file descriptor, and since the lowest value is now open, it will enter itself into that slot. If you did everything correctly, then the input or output, depending on what you changed, should be changed to the file you want it to be. Well, that's the last of these videos. Petey, what'd you write there on that file? God, you're so rude.